Welcome to Hassle-Free RE, the show where we share tips, tricks, and stories from the short-term rental industry and business alike. Hosted by Dave Menapace and Will Van Wickler. They'll help you navigate the exciting and ever-evolving world of short-term rentals. Whether you're a seasoned host or just starting out, they've got something just for you. In each episode, they'll bring you insider insights, expert advice, and real-life stories from hosts and industry professionals who have been through it all. They'll cover everything from maximizing your rental income and profits to creating unforgettable guest experiences and handling unexpected day-to-day challenges with ease. Are you ready to discover the secrets to running a successful short-term rental business without the hassle? Then let's get started. This is Hassle-Free RE.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hassle-Free RE. I'm Dave Menapace, president of the 5-Star Co-host, managing luxury vacation homes as well as hotels across New England. Joined here by my man, Mr. Will Van Wickler. Will, on the real estate front, even delivering keynote speeches in front of a few thousand Keller Williams agents. How's it going, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you. It's good to be back, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Excellent summer on the Cape, and we're rocking and rolling, dude. It's really fun getting back into the swing of things this fall, and had some just like good, inspiring time away, some time to decompress, spend time with the family, sharpen up my golf game a little bit. It was fun. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm ready to get into season 2. We went on hiatus
Yeah.
on purpose. The
Yeah.
podcast did not stop, and we're back and we're ready to hit it.
That's right. That's right. So why don't we jump right in? I'll introduce the
Yeah.
first topic that we're going to talk about today. It's going to be Airbnbs versus the rise of boutique hotels. And truthfully, boutique hotel is nothing new. It's actually I call it kind of like a pimped out hotel that takes the best of hospitality that you might see in a short-term rental and infuses sort of that personal touch aspect into the hotel experience. And it's been really interesting. We've been seeing it all over social media. Let me ask you this. There's a lot of interesting narratives going out there, but Will, do you really see a collapse in Airbnb, so to speak? Like, are people not renting them anymore? What are you seeing?
There's not a collapse. There's a thinning, just like any industry. I mean, there's a thinning of long-term rentals. There's a thinning of condos in the resale market. I mean, the word I think that all us Keller Williams people use is shift, right? It's like we're in a market shift. We've been in one for a couple of years. The good are staying in, the bad are getting out, and it's just becoming a more clearer marketplace, and the divide between okay and great is just becoming much wider. So we are seeing, the 80-20 principle, the top 20% do 80% of the business. It's now like the 95-5. So it's getting pretty clear. And I'm sure you're seeing the same thing in the management space, right?
Totally. And what's really interesting is I'm not seeing, because now we manage hotels too. So I have a lot of insight into, guest behavior in general. I'm seeing an overall reduction in vacation spending is what I'm seeing. And then if you have a short-term rental, if it happens to be in a vacation market, which they are not all in vacation markets, I've seen a reduction from the beaches to the mountains and just people going on vacations this year. And I think a lot of that, we're recording this in fall of 2025. I think that naturally there was a reduction or some fear around spending money earlier this year. And that's normal, right? So I'm not necessarily seeing one or the other. I'm just seeing overall people are tightening and being more considerate around how they're spending money, and spending money for enjoyment purposes is at a slight reduction right now, without a doubt.
And I'll even say, like, outside of enjoyment, just like an economic overview, just something I thought was an interesting conversation this reminded me of is like my electrician who has, a 10-guy team, one of the best in the area outside of Portland, Maine. He told me, he's like, gosh, before the service side of their business was like crazy, crazy busy. He had to
Yeah.
hire more guys. They would do, backup generators, right? This is a residential market. He's like, we'd be doing like a generator a week, right? That's like a
Huh.
$15,000 job. And he's
Right.
like, God, a couple months ago, he's like, crickets, right? So they're not even
Yeah.
getting service electric calls. Now he does a lot of new construction stuff like that. He wasn't, freaking out, but what a good indicator of like the economy and kind of market we're in of like, well, maybe I'm not going to get that project going right now, or I'm not going to get that, $15,000 generator installed. Just like such an interesting perspective in just the marketplace as a whole for a
Totally.
very well respected electrician. So not just vacations, but
Yeah.
even just economically, it's been a slower summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, here's something that is interesting. It's around the guest or the traveler psyche. This one I wanna praise boutique hotels for, in that I don't know about you, but like if I am going to spend money and go on vacation, I don't want any surprises. And even the nicest, most decked out houses in any market, they always seem to come with some surprises, especially if you're doing revenue management right and you're maximizing the revenue that a home could make. Chances are a guest is going to be looking for reasons, or somebody in their group is going to be looking for reasons as to why that vacation or that spend was too expensive. Now, what I find in the boutique hotel space, or even traditional hotels for that matter, is they're generally not owned by one individual. They're usually owned by a business, and it's not somebody's first crack at real estate investing, and hospitality. Now, the caveat I'm going to say is these would be for newer boutique hotels, not roadside motels that are run down, right? But it's interesting. What I think people are really valuing at this point is consistency in the basic amenities. A bed that's comfortable, not one that creaks, not a bed that moves when you sit on it or slides across the floor. And a bag of coffee there for the morning, fresh towels that truly feel like somebody looked at it and said, "Can is this towel still serviceable for a guest?" Small things like that, where in the Airbnb side, a lot of the times it's the cleaners that are expected to do that piece of the quality check, and they're busy cleaning houses. They're not busy looking at the quality of everything. And so I have seen um, a little bit more traveler confidence in the hotel space in the last year than there is in the Airbnb single family home space. Just my 2 cents, but I know you've been doing a decent amount of travel lately. What's your take on that?
I have been doing a decent amount of travel, and it's been split between like hotel and Airbnb. And just like something that I've become aware of is I'm a freak when it comes to things like scuff marks or caulking on bathtubs getting moldy, like on all my properties. Like I have most of them almost fully repainted every single year because
Mm,
I'm in tens of houses every single week, and that's the stuff I pick up on selling them, and that's kind of the stuff that freaks me out renting them. And the last Airbnb experience I had, it was like it just was okay, but it was like moldy caulking on the bathtub, some light bulbs out, different color light bulbs, walls all kicked up and scraped, and it was like a
right.
higher end accommodation in Austin. It was a very cool house with a pool, but I'm like, this is why people are actually going to a hotel instead of Airbnbs, because the perception of cleanliness, in my opinion, as a traveler, is like, I know what I'm going to get going to like a 3 or 4 star Hilton. Like it's going to be
Right.
totally sufficient and comfortable, and it's going to be clean. Where the inconsistencies, I think, of cleanliness and condition, it's really condition is the word for the Airbnbs. They fluctuate so greatly. Even these like luxury properties that get rented a lot, they get beat to crap, and as they should, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people coming in, a lot of kids, a lot of pets, whatever, but it's the condition that gets me. The photos tell one story. You're going to get more consistency on the hotel, and the guests, I feel like, hold these hotels to a higher standard. So if they're in poor condition, you're going to see that on the reviews versus Airbnb. Well, the host was a nice guy, I'm not going to blast him publicly, but hey, this and this was broken.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has been interesting this summer. Um, I will say it's been like it's been a record high of instances where guests have felt like what they came to wasn't meeting their expectation. They could be right, they could be wrong. That's just been the reality that I've seen, and it's unfortunate, but it's also a truth. And I will say this does happen occasionally in the hotel space too. I'll never forget this. I stayed in January of 2024. I went to a retreat in Scottsdale, Arizona, at a really high end sort of resort type of place. It was called the Andaz, and
Hmm.
you had these individual like little townhouses that you'd stay in. And I walked into my room and there was a massive red wine stain. There's actually several of them on the floor. At the end of the day, like, I wasn't upset, I didn't really care, but it was there. You know what I mean? And it was really interesting. I think one of the biggest differences between these two types of assets though is on Airbnb, as an owner, as a property manager, we're constantly searching for that 5-star review. There's a lot of value put on that 5-star review, to the point where at the end of a guest stay, if they kept the home in great condition, we'll actually message them. We'll thank them personally for doing that, for leaving it in such great condition. We'll let them know that we're going to be leaving them a 5-star review, and we hope that we earned a 5-star review from them. Like, there's a whole process in the business around this, where hotels, their reputation is on the line for sure, but their reputation is articulated in many different ways beyond just reviews. And there's not all this pressure. So if a guest stays at a hotel and doesn't enjoy it, they're generally not going to go out of their way to get onto like Google Business and leave a bad review. They kind of leave it go on their way and they don't stay again. So it's just the conversations are a little bit different in both the asset classes, and it's just been interesting for me to observe that.
I also think like a very fascinating element is the branding, right? Like a lot of these smaller hotels, boutique hotels are crushing the branding game where you just can't really do that with a single family home. It's much more challenging
Totally.
to if you don't have the scale versus there are these local hotel owners in Southern Maine and coming up to Western Maine that are just crushing the brand, their Instagram accounts. They're getting a lot of organic traffic, and people want to be a part of that, the story of taking it over and renovating it, and they want to see it be successful. And they're
Yeah,
offering very interesting products, not products that you could never do in a single family home. I just think that's a very key element that I'm seeing outside of consistency and condition. It's the branding element.
totally. Another point you brought up that I think is really important for the hotels, especially the ones that are usually around 25 units or more, there's generally a manager who's on site. Now, they might not live
Mm.
there, they might not be there 24/7, but it's their job to generally go in and check the different rooms before guests come in after it's been cleaned. And because you have that economy of scale, it's a lot easier to take care of issues. And at the same time, if there is an issue, in our experience, it's a lot easier to move a guest from one room
Mm.
to another one. And we can, we can cut out the negative guest experience altogether. So in a hotel, usually the goal is to float between 60 to 80% occupancy. On the one that we manage on the weekends, it is 100% occupancy almost all the time, but we do try and make it so there's like one room available to be able to shift people into. Whereas when you're at a house, now let's say you own one, maybe two houses, that is really, really challenging, because there's a lot of pressure for cleaning costs to go down. There's a ton of pressure on that on the different platforms, and economically it doesn't necessarily make sense to be paying somebody to go in after each round of cleaning and before the next guest, because there's been pressure on the price point, there's pressure on the cleaning costs. So I find the larger management companies have the ability to do that. Like almost every other week, we have someone circulate around all the houses. Um, but again, if you just own one or two houses, maybe even three, economically at some point you still have a mortgage to pay and the expenses that go along with it. So it's just a fascinating time. Two totally different areas of hospitality. But as an investor, it may make you almost like take a step back and think, and what asset class would you like to be in? Maybe you partner with other investors and go for a boutique hotel where there's a whole side of commercial lending that goes along with that, but you have some economies of scale. So it's just been really interesting as the industry has continued to develop.
And a lot of people are interested in investing in the asset class too. I'm starting to see a lot of operators that want to jump in, and there's a lot of moving parts, and it's totally different than residential. You're very involved with it, with the mastermind and Mike and all those guys, but it's not as simple as just putting a house under contract. A lot of work
Totally.
goes into the back end of getting a bank to even finance them. A lot of banks
Yeah.
won't finance non-flagged hotels, for example. So it's just a very interesting industry. I've been in on the sales side, working
Yeah.
on some commercial transactions. So it's just very interesting comparison. Both hospitality, but
Totally.
totally different animals. So
Absolutely. Now let me ask you this on the real estate, like on the sales side. No, you just I think put a 7 unit under contract. Does anything change in terms of being a real estate agent, right? Does one asset class offer more opportunity than the other? And what kinds of things might you have to learn if you're an agent serving an investor, depending on whether it's a commercial, like a boutique hotel, or a single family home?
yeah, great question. Like once you go from 4 units and above, it's commercial financing. So it's all dependent on numbers, and there's a lot more creativity in the deals. For instance, the deal I have under contract personally with a partner, there's partial seller financing for renovation
Mhm.
cost, large seller credits. You're not limited to, a 3% seller credit. We have almost a 6-figure seller credit on this deal.
Wow.
And there's a lot of due diligence, environmental due diligence. So the best advice I would have for, an agent who wants to aspire to get into this like mixed use kind of commercial niche in real estate is partner with somebody and shadow them, because there's so much to learn, and you can kind of stumble through a deal helping a first time home buyer out, because you know what, you still probably know more than them because you got your real estate license, but you can't really fake it in the commercial asset class. So I've had really great help and mentors over the years that have taught me to a point where I'm comfortable in a specific niche. But you know what? I don't do commercial leasing. I don't do office space. I don't do industrial,
Right.
right? Like I focus on multifamily, hospitality, and residential real estate. And like that's what I'm really comfortable in. And it's a totally different world, and it's very relationship based. Everything from the deals, right? Like the 2 commercial properties I bought have been brought to me from commercial
Mhm.
brokers, and then financing, having a really strong relationship with the bank.
I love that. I love that. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up this topic, the Airbnb versus boutique hotels. I'm sure it's another one that we'll visit in the near future. Will, if somebody wants to buy or sell a house, or maybe get in on one of these commercial deals, or they're interested in some of the development that you're doing, the houses you're developing, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, go to my website, willvanwickler.com, book a call, and we'll jump on and learn how we can help. And you do a lot, Dave. Speaker, author, host, manager. If somebody wants to
Yeah.
reach you for anything short-term rental real estate related.
Yeah, just head right over to davemenapace.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Dave_Menapace. Shoot me a DM. Emails dave@davemenapace.com. Pretty easy to remember. Shoot me an email and let's connect and see how we can help each other.
Good deal. I'll see you next week.
Awesome. Take care, Will.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Hassle Free RE. We hope you found today's tips and stories as inspiring and useful as I did. Remember, success in the short-term rental industry is all about learning, adapting, and staying one step ahead. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to leave us a review or comment on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners like you. Plus, we'd love to hear your thoughts and any topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and follow us at HassleFreeRE on social media for more tips and updates. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep it hassle-free.